Your thoughts and stories about who you are, what other people are like, and what kind of place the world is all start out in the autonomic nervous system. Now, in times of heightened stress, the body actually sends messages up to the brain. So we have signals like your heart beating fast. You might feel sick to the stomach or like butterflies in your tummy. And all these messages are going up to the brain. Now, the brain is like a prediction machine and it likes to make sense of things. It actually likes to compare things to what's happened in our past and then predict that things will be exactly the same. And its favorite thing to do is to create a story. So these stories can become old, repetitive, and they may not actually serve us anymore or actually match the reality of our situation. It's the brain's way of trying to make sense of these strong emotions and sensations. And it does this in a very black and white way, without a lot of nuance, and without necessarily letting things be new or different. So this is where having this awareness of our nervous system is really important, because it allows us to see reality just as it is, and it's really what allows us to write a new story, one that's more accurate and reflects today. Now, let's look at the different stories we can have for each of our states. Story number 1 relates to what we call our dorsal vagal state. And this is a state of immobilization and collapse. And what we might hear when we're in this state is a story that sounds like things are hopeless, they're never going to work out for me, so why even bother trying? If we get into conflict, the story might sound like no one understands me anyway, no one listens, and I'll always be alone. Now, this story drives our behavior. And so we withdraw, we isolate, we cut off and stonewall other people. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the state of the sympathetic nervous system, we will hear a different story. One that sounds like protection, and it could be perfectionism too. Like, I can't make a mistake or I'll fail. Or if I don't do this exactly right, things will fall apart. In conflict, we may react in ways to try and get a reaction back because of this mobilization or because we want somebody to step towards us. So in this state of mobilization, your brain may try to make sense of things by judging or blaming others or becoming overly critical. So it's something for us to watch, and it gives us feedback as to what state we might be in. The third state is different. When we move into regulation, the story can powerfully shift to reflect reality. Yes, somebody may still be at fault or have done the wrong thing, but the way that we see this isn't that we're looking at a situation through the lens of disconnection or being alone, and we're not looking at it through the lens of protection or hypervigilance or perfectionism. We're taking away all that noise and we're able to see things very clearly just as they are. So an embodied way that you can experience this is if you imagine putting on 3 different pairs of sunglasses. So bring to mind a situation in your life where there might be some stress or worry, or it could be a conflict with somebody else, or it could be something that's coming up. It could be a behavior that you don't like from yourself, and put on the sunglasses that represent this dorsal vagal energy. So you're looking at that situation and notice what happens when you bring that sense of collapse and hopelessness to that story. And you might even journal what it is that comes up for you. And then when you're ready, you can put on the second pair of sunglasses that represent this sympathetic activation, mobilization, anxiety, perfectionism, blame, and judgment. And just let yourself write all of the things that are coming from this state. And it might be that you let yourself write about the judgment or blame for somebody else. And then finally, when you're ready, you can put on the third pair of sunglasses which represent regulation where you feel safe and connected. And see what story comes up for you then. See how that story or situation shifts or changes. Although we often think that things are arising from our brain, and if we just think more positively, or if we do some mindset work, it will change how we feel. The reality is when stress is high, it's actually the sensations from our body and our emotions that the vagus nerve and hormonal system signal to the brain that is creating a lot of these stories based off past predictions. And wisdom comes when we learn to see the sunglasses that we're looking through and what ways they're impacting us. And then we move forward with the decisions or the action that we want to take after that. Changing the state of your nervous system changes the thoughts and stories that shape your life. If this is something you're curious to learn more about, I'd love to have you join me for my upcoming trainings, and I'll pop the details below.